Our headlines for tonight. The Malacanang Palace reiterates that President Marcos will veto any found anomalies in the 2026 budget.
The Justice Department asked the Interpol to issue blue notice against Acobicol Representative Saldico.
The Senate quickly approves the Office of the Vice President proposed 2026 budget.
Masbate Airport rehabilitation has been completed after Typhoon Opong, says the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines.
And the Philippines is set to host Volleyball Women's Championship in 2029. Good evening, bring the latest news for tonight. I am ALVIN, PELLOBELO.
And I am KRIZZA Lopez. This is Eurotv Newsthread. The details on our broadcast. Malacanang stressed that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will veto any anomalous allocations in the proposed 2026 national budget.
The statement comes as the administration faces growing scrutiny over corruption allegations in DPWH flood control projects. More from this report. The Malacanang Palace has maintained that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is ready to veto funds for the year 2026 if it has anomalies. This was emphasized by Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro in relation with the ongoing investigation into corruption in the flood control projects of the Department of Public Works and Highways. The President will not allow any anomalous projects for the next year.
At sinabi po ng Pangulo even before na kung meron man magkakamali o magiging anomalyang muli ang gagawin na budget sa 2026, yan po ay kanyang i-veto.
The palace also assured that the President wants the government funds to properly distributed to the Filipino people.
Gusto po talaga ng Pangulo na yung budget ay tama at maibigay sa tamang programa para sa kinabukasan at kapakinabangan ng taong bayan.
The President challenges corrupt officials that they should serve the Filipinos in the best honest way that they can.
Dahil siguro po sa nakikita po natin at naipapakita na galit ng taong bayan, na siya rin pong nararamdaman ng Pangulo, nakita po natin na dapat sila ay matuto na tumupad sa kanilang mandato na maging tunay na public servant.
Alyansa ng Bantay sa Kapayapaan at Demokrasya Chairman Emeritus Dr. Antonio Guisha defended the President's power to inspect anomalies in funds, saying that sufficient grounds are needed to veto funds for the next year. He said this is the President's way of showing composure and firmness despite the investigation into some of his allies and relatives involved in alleged corruption. The Bayan Muna Group, on the other hand, insisted that the administration should at least expand the investigation into the flood control project, as Attorney Nery Colmenares noting that a system is needed for the alleged systematic corruptions. The chief executive has transferred about 38 billion pesos of the DPWH funds for the programs under the Department of Social Welfare and Development last week. This is ALVIN, PELLOBELO for Eurotv News.
Meanwhile, the Department of Justice has requested the Interpol to issue blue notice against Representative Saldico, aiming to gather information about the whereabouts of the lawmaker. Here's the details.
Palace Press Officer and Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro confirmed that the Department of Justice has requested the International Criminal Police Organization or Interpol to issue a blue notice against Acobicol Representative Saldico.
Nakausap po natin ang DOJ at sinabi po sa atin na sila po ay nakapag-request na po for blue notice. At hihintay na lamang po siguro ang response.
Castro clarified that a blue notice does not mean cause arrest but only serves to inform Philippine authorities of his whereabouts. Today, September 29, marks the deadline set by the House of Representatives Corfo to return to the country. This came after Speaker Boji D. revoked cause travel clearance for medical treatment abroad. According to the latest update from the DOJ, Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla will coordinate with the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI to ensure proper handling of the case.
Ang pinaka-latest po sa DOJ, pupunta po si SOJ sa ICI for proper coordination.
Co was among those identified in Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearings as having allegedly received kickbacks from ghost projects and substandard flood control programs. He has strongly denied the allegations, insisting he will return to the Philippines to clear his name. At present, Co faces no formal criminal charges apart from an ethics complaint filed by Nabota's representative Toby Tiangco. Meanwhile, the Department of Works and Highways has asked the Anti-Money Laundering Council or AMLAC to freeze the Co family's assets worth 4.3 billion pesos. This is KRIZZA Lopez for Eurotv News.
The upper chamber of Congress has quickly approved the proposed 2026 budget of the Office of the Vice President. According to various senators, as tradition, the OVP fund has been approved in a short period of deliberation. Mia Layagin has the story.
With less than an hour of deliberations, the Senate Subcommittee on Finance approved on Monday the proposed budget of the Office of the Vice President for fiscal year 2026. During the budget deliberations, Vice President Sara Duterte led the budget presentation herself, explaining the allocations of the office's proposed 902,895,000 pesos for 2026. Majority of the budget is allocated to the maintenance and operating expenses of the OVP, amounting to 673,753,000 pesos. 25.34% or 212,536,000 pesos is aligned for the personal services allocation, while 1.84% or 16,604,000 pesos for capital outlay. Meanwhile, 30.5% of the proposed fund is intended to sustain the various existing social programs of the OVP. A 1.3% increase was granted from the 733 million initially proposed fund of the OVP, equivalent to its 2025 budget.
The OVP holds a distinct position in our bureaucracy. As the second highest office in the land, the OVP carries out functions that complement the work of other government agencies while advancing the well-being of the Filipino people. The proposed 902.895 million for fiscal year 2026 budget for the OVP will help us continue with our mission to deliver efficient, accessible, and responsive public service for the good of all Filipinos.
The Senate committee recognized and expressed support to the ongoing programs of the OVP, whom continued its projects amidst the large budget slash. All senators present during the deliberations also expressed support in granting the OVP additional budget to sustain funding of its social programs. Senator Bongo even made a statement that he is willing to slash his office's budget and transfer it to the OVP instead.
For next year, I urge the Senate to support the budget of the OVP in full. Napakaliit po ng increase. 1% lang po. Pero alam naman natin na marami pong matutulungan. Kung pwede lang po, Mr. Chair, kung allowed po ito, bawasan po ang budget ko sa opisina sa Senado. Kahit konti, ilagay na lang po sa OVP. Further empower and help BP's office to respond to the needs of the Filipino people, especially the marginalized sector. Muli, nais ko pong ipahayag ang aking suporta para sa budget ng OVP. Alang-alang na lang po sa mga kababayan nating mahirap. Let's support her to be a working Vice President.
A parliamentary courtesy was granted to the OVP's budget deliberations, marking its endorsement to the Mother Finance Committee for plenary debates. Last week, the House of Representatives approved as well the OVP's budget proposal via parliamentary courtesy, citing tradition. This is Mia Layagin for Eurotv News.
Senator Cheese Escudero has filed a disbarment complaint against a fellow lawmaker due to alleged malicious content posted on Facebook. The senator submitted a complaint to the Supreme Court this Monday. More from this report.
Senator Francis Cheese Escudero has asked the Supreme Court to revoke license of a lawyer over allegedly malicious social media post against him. In a complaint filed Monday, Escudero accused attorney Jesus Ricardo Madarang Falsis III of repeatedly violating the Code of Professional Responsibility and Accountability. According to Escudero, Falsis made several posts across different dates containing accusations, defamatory remarks, and malicious statements that damage his reputation. On July 2025, Falsis criticized Escudero's stance on House deliberations regarding alleged insertions and fork barrel funds, claiming the senator himself was involved in anomalies. In one post, Falsis described Escudero as the worst Senate president in Philippine history and likened him to rotting cheese. Escudero argued before the court that such behavior reflects irresponsibility and reckless conduct unbecoming of a lawyer and sets a disgraceful example for the legal profession. Meanwhile, Falsis cited a court ruling prohibiting the public disclosure of disbarment proceedings. This is KRIZZA Lopez for Eurotv News.
Former Philippine National Police Chief Rodolfo Azarin Jr. has been appointed as Special Advisor to the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, completing the lineup following the resignation of Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong. Henry Nicolas with a report.
The Office of the President announced on Monday the official appointment of former PNP Chief General Rodolfo Azarin as the new Special Advisor and Investigator of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI. He will replace Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong following the latter's resignation as a Special Advisor of the ICI on Friday. In his social media post, Magalong stated that there was no conflict of interest in his work at the ICI and his position as a mayor, as he was guided by the principle of the highest standards of integrity and public service. However, he added that the recent developments have reportedly affected the Commission's work and cast doubt on its integrity. The President, for his part, respects Magalong's decision and acknowledges his participation in the ICI. In a statement from Malacanang Palace, the President had earlier seen a potential conflict of interest in Magalong's work with the ICI, given that he did not resign as Baguio Local Chief Executive. This is the reason why he was appointed as a Special Advisor and not a formal investigator. Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro also defended her previous statements on September 13 and September 26 regarding Magalong's work in the Commission.
He refused to resign as Mayor of Baguio. So with that, nakita po ng Pangulo ang maaaring maging conflict at kaya po Special Advisor po ang kanyang ibinigay na magiging role ni Mayor Magalong. So wala po tayong nakikitang inconsistencies sa nasabing aking nasabi noong September 13 dahil Pangulo po ang mismo nagpasya nung sinabi niya po ito noong September 15.
When asked about Magalong's resignation, Castro said the palace is hopeful that his departure will not affect the ICI's work because the Commission's members are complete and the integrity of the investigation will retained. The palace further stated that current flood control projects would not be affected despite the budget cut to the DPWH of approximately 255.5 billion pesos, which will be reallocated to various government agencies. The DPWH has reportedly reassessed of its 2026 budget.
Pinag-aralan po ng DPWH, nire-assess po nila yung pondo na supposed to be for the 2026 budget at nakita po nila kung ano yung dapat natanggalin at ito po ang kumbaga matitipid po nila, magkakaroon ng fiscal space for the 255.5 billion. So mas nanaisin po ng Pangulo na ito'y mailagay sa tamang mga programa at para po mas makatulong sa mga kababayan po natin.
Meanwhile, Azarin's work will commence after he finishes personal and administrative arrangement. He served as the 19th Chief of the Philippine National Police from August 22 until his retirement in April 2023 and a member of the PMA Makatao class of 1989. This is Henry Nicolas for Eurotv News.
To ease the burden of Filipinos affected by recent tropical cyclones, the Department of Social Welfare and Development continues to deliver food and non-food items to victims in Central Luzon. Shai Morales tells us more.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD Field Office 3, continues its relief efforts.
distributing family food packs or FFPs to residents in Central Luzon affected by a series of calamities, including Super Typhoon Nando, Typhoon Opong, and the Southwest Monsoon or Habagat. Just recently, the DSWD delivered 1,500 food packs to Dingalan, Aurora as part of the agency's disaster response operations following the disaster brought by Typhoon Opong and the heavy monsoon rains that struck the area. Earlier this week, food packs were also distributed to affected residents in Subic, Zambales in response to the urgent needs of communities severely affected by the calamities. Among the beneficiaries were internally displaced persons, farmers, and fisherfolk in Dilasag, Aurora. Prior to that, 800 food packs were also distributed to families in Kasiguran, Aurora. These food packs were delivered in coordination with the local government units or LGU of the affected municipalities, the Municipal Social Welfare and Development Office, Municipal Action Teams or MAT, as well as the Maritime Police and the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG. According to DSWD Field Office 3, the distribution efforts are part of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s directive to ensure that no Filipino would starve, especially those heavily affected by consecutive typhoons and adverse weather conditions. This is Shai Morales reporting for Eurotv News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Agriculture Secretary Chu Laurel have decided to extend the rice importation ban for another 30 days. Secretary Chu said the decision was made due to the lower prices of rice grains in the market. More from Vanessa Cleofas.
The Department of Agriculture or DA announced that the 60-day rice import ban, which ends on September 30, will be extended for 30 more days. According to Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr., he met with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. last week. Tiu said they both agreed to impose a minimum 30-day extension after the initial 60-day rice import ban, which could possibly last until the end of 2025 depending on the situation. The decision was made due to lower prices of unhusked rice observed by the Agriculture Department. In the coming days, Tiu will assure the public that executive order will be released stating that no government offices or local government units are allowed to import rice to support local farmers. Aside from extending the rice import ban, the DA also plans to increase rice tariff and issue an EO for floor price on rice grain. The President also approved the DA's request for emergency procurement of unhusked rice and funding for additional warehouse rentals to store more rice purchased from the farmers, Agri-Chief says. This is Vanessa Cleofas for Eurotv News.
The Valenzuela city government is looking into complaints of alleged suppression of free expression at the pamantasan ng lungsod ng Valenzuela. Mayor Wes Gatchalian assured students that their right to speak out will be protected. Catherine Landicho returns.
The Valenzuela city government has promptly responded to the complaints from the student of the pamantasang lungsod ng Valenzuela regarding the alleged suppressions of their right to freedom of expressions. Valenzuela City Mayor Wes Gatchalian confirmed receiving a series of messages, tags and mentions on social media directly from PLP students. Attached to this message were documents allegedly indicating various forms of repressions within the university. According to the mayor, circulating materials suggest attempts to stifle student voice and impose restrictions on freedom of speech within the institution. Mayor Gatchalian underscored the seriousness of the allegation, noting their direct connection to the public trust, human rights, and the empowerment of youth who stand up for their beliefs. He emphasized that this is the duty of the local government to ensure that every student is provided with a safe space to speak, express themselves, and to participate in discussion that shape their future. He added that it must be respected and nurtured to foster humane, secure, and open dialogue between the students and the administration. The mayor also called for cooperation from all sectors to better address the concern raised by the student body. He assured the public that the local government is taking the matter seriously and is open to hearing the side of those affected. Eurotv News is also maintained as an open invitations for the pamantasan ng lungsod ng Valenzuela to share its official statement on that issue. This is Catherine Landicho for Eurotv News.
After the onslaught of Typhoon Opong, the Masbate Airport is operational again, as announced by the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines. The airport sustained damage due to the typhoon but has since undergone rehabilitation. Vanessa Cleofas returns with the details.
Masbate Airport has resumed its operation and now accepting passengers and flights, according to an announcement released by the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines or CAAP after suffered from structural damage due to Typhoon Opong. According to the agency, hazardous materials that had fallen from the ceiling inside the passenger terminal building or PTB have already been removed. Hanging cables have also been cleared and internet connectivity has been fully restored. Roofing installed on the PTB is only temporary. However, CAAP assures that it is safe and does not pose any danger to passengers. Despite the airport being ready to resume operations, the continuation of flights still depends on the discretion of airlines. It can be recalled that on September 27, following the onslaught of Typhoon Opong, Transportation Secretary Giovanni Lopez immediately visited and inspected Masbate Airport, where he personally witnessed the extensive damage caused by the typhoon. The OTR estimated 10 to 15 million pesos worth of structural damage in the said airport due to Typhoon Opong that results to the cancellation of flights. Airport representatives earlier stated that Typhoon Opong was the strongest storm to hit them in recent years, leaving significant damage in just 3 to 4 hours of intense winds and rain. This is Vanessa Cleofas for Eurotv News.
For this week's oil price advisory, there will be a mixed movement on the fuel prices in the Philippines. Effective tomorrow is a rollback on gasoline prices placed at 20 centavos per liter. This ended the 6th consecutive week of gasoline price hike in the country. On the other hand, diesel and kerosene prices continues to soar this week with 90 centavos per liter increase each. This marks the 6th straight week of price hike for diesel and kerosene, attributed to the shift in demand and higher gasoline supply in Asia. This is still aside from the limited diesel exports and gasoline export ban of Russia, U.S. sanctions and tariffs, as well as other supply and geopolitical risks affecting fuel prices across the global market. Former Chinese agriculture chief Tang Renjian has been sentenced to death with a 2-year reprieve over massive bribery and corruption charges. Graciela Corazon has more.
Former Agriculture Minister and Rural Affairs official Tang Renjian sentenced to death with 2 years reprieve related to alleged bribery and corruption in China. Tang was found to have received cash and bribes, including assets valued at more than 268 million yuan, approximately 2.19 billion pesos from 2007 to 2024 depending on the exact exchange rate used. According to Changchun Intermediate People's Court, Tang Renjian's death sentence was suspended for 2 years after he was admitted to his crimes. In November 2024, Tang was expelled from the Chinese Communist Parties 6 months after undergoing an anti-corruption investigation and being removed from his position. Tang was former governor of the northwestern province of Gansu, and he also served as vice chairman of the Southern Autonomous Region of Guangxi, China, where Li was removed from his position after 7 months and was also expelled from the Chinese Communist Parties due to violations including suspended bribery. A death with reprieve sentence is a death penalty that is not immediately carried out, usually with a 2-year suspension of the execution. The sentence can be reduced to life imprisonment if no laws are broken during the reprieve period. This is Graciela Corazon for Eurotv News.
Moreover, hundreds of young Peruvians have taken to the streets to protest a new pension law under President Dina Boluarte. Son Santiago with the details.
Hundreds of young people in Lima, Peru staged demonstrations against their president Dina Boluarte following a controversial pension reform. The protest erupted after the passage of a law requiring all Peruvians aged 18 and above to join a pension provider. According to Peru's National Statistics Agency, nearly 27% of the population falls between 18 and above, making youth one of the most affected groups. Demonstrators says the system is unfair, especially for young workers in unstable jobs. The tensions that began since September 20 escalated near the Congress and government buildings, where police clashed with protesters. According to reports, at least 18 people injured, including police officers and journalists. However, the unrest is not limited to the youth. Even different societal groups and individuals have also joined the rallies, voicing frustration over alleged corruption in their government. Based on the Corruption Perception Index of the Transparency International, Peru ranked 127 among the 180 countries, where the country ranked first is seen to have the most honest public sector. Meanwhile, the Institute of Peruvian Studies' July report shows Boluarte's approval rating reached to only 2.5%. While Congress stands at just 3%. This is Son Santiago for Eurotv News.
The Philippines is set to host the Volleyball Women's World Championship in 2029. Let's have more of the details from Kyle Basa.
The Philippines will host another big-time volleyball event, as it was just announced by FIVB President Fabio Azevedo and Brazilian volleyball legend Leila Barros this September 28.
The Women's World Championship 2029 will be in Philippines!
After hosting the Volleyball Men's World Championship 2025, it was rewarded by the Philippine sports community to host another Volleyball World Championship competition. There was feedback among international players and even officials of FIVB that they enjoyed the hospitality and experience itself to play here in the country.
Can I just say again, and I've said it, President Ramon has said it, the hospitality extended to us from the time that you arrive at the airport until the time you leave, actually. The hospitality is I just can't say enough of what you make us feel so welcome. And it's not just from me. Ask the teams, ask the athletes, they will come back the same.
The Volleyball Men's Championship also crowned Italy as the champions when they beat Bulgaria, sealing their back-to-back championship this previous 2022 Volleyball Men's World Championship and also this year. The silver medal goes to Bulgaria, bronze to Poland, while the fourth place goes to the Czech Republic. Having a 4-year preparation to the Volleyball Men's World Championship, it is determined that the Alas Pilipinas women's team will show grit and non-stop action in the upcoming tournament. This is Kyle Basa reporting for Eurotv News.
And that's the latest news for tonight. You may visit yourtvph.com for more news and information. Once again, I am KRIZZA Lopez.
You can also catch our live broadcast through our social media accounts and via Pinoy Stream channel. I am ALVIN PELLOBELO. Thanks for joining us. This is Eurotv Newsthread. Stay safe and have a good night, everyone.